13 forbidden places you can't visit in America. 1. Area 51, Nevada. Area 51. Deep in the Nevada desert, there is a place that does not appear on maps the way normal locations do. From a distance, it looks like empty land. Nothing unusual. Nothing visible. But the closer you get, the more the environment changes. Warning signs begin long before you reach the perimeter. Restricted airspace stretches far beyond what you can physically see. And movement in the area is tightly controlled. Officially, it is described as a military testing site for experimental aircraft. But no one outside can fully verify what is being tested there, or how advanced it actually is. And that silence around it is what fuels everything else. Because in most places, secrecy has limits. Here, secrecy feels like the entire purpose of the location. And the deeper question remains unanswered. What is being kept out of sight, and why has it stayed hidden for so long? 2. Centralia, Pennsylvania. Centralia. Centralia looks like an abandoned town frozen in time. Empty streets. Collapsed buildings. Roads that lead nowhere. But the reason it is empty is not decay. It is something still happening underneath it. A coal mine fire started decades ago beneath the town, and it never went out. Instead, it spread underground, slowly changing everything above it. Over time, the ground became unstable. Smoke began rising through cracks. Roads began collapsing without warning. Families were forced to leave one by one, until the town was nearly empty. Today, Centralia remains officially unsafe for habitation. Centralia. Even now, Centralia has not reached an ending. The ground still shifts in ways that are not fully visible from the surface. What remains of the town stands above something still active, still changing, still moving underground. The surface looks still. But stillness does not always mean safety. And that uncertainty is why the area remains restricted. Because no one can guarantee what will happen if the underground fire continues to spread in ways that cannot be predicted. And that uncertainty is what keeps Centralia from ever becoming fully open again. But what makes it unsettling is not just what happened. It is the fact that beneath the surface, the fire is still believed to be burning. And no one can say exactly where it will go next. 3. North Brother Island, New York. North Brother Island. Just a short distance from one of the busiest cities in the world, lies a completely abandoned island. North Brother Island was once used to isolate people suffering from highly contagious diseases. It was never meant to feel permanent. Only controlled. Contained. But after its medical use ended, everything was left behind. Buildings were abandoned. Equipment was left inside. Nature slowly took over everything. Today, the island is strictly off limits. Not because people live there, but because nothing about it has been fully restored or made safe for public access. And what remains is a place where silence feels unusually complete. As if the island is still doing what it was originally built for. 4. Groom Lake, Nevada. Groom Lake. In the Nevada desert, there is a dry lake bed surrounded by restricted military control. Groom Lake sits inside one of the most heavily secured zones in the country. No public access is allowed. No approach is permitted. The perimeter is actively enforced. From a distance, it looks empty, but the emptiness feels controlled rather than natural. There are reports of activity in the region that are never publicly explained. Officially, it is a testing ground. Unofficially, it has become one of the most speculated locations in the United States. But what makes it unsettling is not what people think happens there. It is how completely it is shielded from observation. And that raises a simple but uncomfortable question. What exactly requires this level of secrecy in the middle of a desert? 5. Cheyenne Mountain Complex, Colorado. Cheyenne Mountain Complex. Inside a mountain in Colorado, there is a facility designed to function during extreme national emergencies. Cheyenne Mountain is not just built above ground, it is carved deep inside solid rock. From the outside, nothing about the mountain reveals what exists within it. But inside, it is believed to contain critical defense and communication systems. Access is tightly restricted. Most operations are classified. Public visibility is extremely limited. What makes it unsettling is not its structure, but the reason it exists at all. Because it is not designed for normal conditions. It is designed for moments when everything else fails. And that leaves one question hanging. What kind of scenario requires an entire mountain to become a survival system? 7. Fort Knox, Kentucky. Fort Knox. Fort Knox is one of the most secured military installations in the United States. It is believed to store national gold reserves behind heavily reinforced protection systems. Access is extremely restricted, and entry is only allowed under strict authorization. Over time, the facility has become surrounded by speculation, not because of what is confirmed, but because so little has ever been publicly verified inside it. The secrecy is not accidental. It is built into the structure itself. And that leads to a quiet question. When something is never fully seen, how do people ever stop wondering what is inside? 8. Alcatraz Island, California. Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary. In the middle of the cold waters near San Francisco sits an island that was once considered impossible to escape. Alcatraz was built as a maximum security federal prison, designed to hold the most dangerous inmates in the country. Surrounded by freezing water, strong currents, and unpredictable tides, escape was never supposed to be an option. But what made it feared was not just the water outside. It was what happened inside. Isolation. Silence. Strict control. Every movement monitored. Every routine controlled. Over the years, there were reported escape attempts, and one of the most famous incidents involved inmates who vanished without clear resolution. Official reports suggest they likely did not survive the waters. But no one can say with absolute certainty what happened after they disappeared into the darkness of the bay. And that uncertainty is what still keeps Alcatraz in the public imagination. Because in places like this, escape is not just about getting out. It is about whether anyone ever truly knows what happened after. 9. Raven Rock Mountain Complex, Pennsylvania. Raven Rock Mountain Complex. Hidden deep inside a mountain in Pennsylvania is a facility known only to a limited number of people. Raven Rock Mountain Complex is built underground, carved into solid rock, and designed for continuity during national emergencies. From the outside, there is almost nothing visible. Just mountain terrain and restricted access points. But beneath the surface, it is believed to contain secure command infrastructure meant to operate when normal systems fail. Public information is extremely limited, and access is strictly controlled. What makes it unsettling is not what is confirmed, but how carefully everything about it is protected from public view. And that leads to a quiet question. What kind of planning requires a government to hide an entire operational facility beneath a mountain? 10. Mount Weather Emergency Complex, Virginia. Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center. In the mountains of Virginia, there is a facility built for worst-case scenarios. Mount Weather is designed to support government continuity during major national crises. Very little is publicly confirmed about its internal operations. It exists quietly, without attention, despite its strategic importance. From the outside, it blends into the natural landscape. But inside, it is believed to contain systems and infrastructure that only activate under extreme conditions. The secrecy surrounding it is not accidental. It is intentional. And that silence creates an uncomfortable thought. If something ever forced operations underground, who would already be inside before the public even realized anything had changed? 11. North Bend Air Force Early Warning Site, Washington. North Bend Air Force Station. High in the mountains of Washington state lies a remote early warning facility. North Bend Air Force Station is part of a network designed to detect and monitor airborne activity. It is located in an isolated environment, surrounded by dense forest and restricted access roads. Most of its operations are not visible to the public. What makes it interesting is not what it openly does, but how little is spoken about what happens inside during active monitoring. The facility is part of a larger system, yet its specific role remains largely out of public focus. And that lack of attention is exactly what makes it feel distant, as if it operates just outside everyday awareness. 12. Green Bank Observatory Zone, West Virginia. Green Bank Observatory. In a quiet region of West Virginia, there is an area where silence is not just encouraged. It is enforced. Green Bank Observatory sits in a zone where electronic signals are heavily restricted to protect sensitive radio astronomy equipment. That means many modern devices are controlled or limited in the surrounding area. The goal is to eliminate interference from man-made signals so that deep space can be studied clearly. But the result is unusual. A place where everyday communication feels reduced, almost absent. Visitors often describe it as strangely quiet in a way that feels unfamiliar. And that creates an interesting contrast. Because in most places, silence is something you notice. Here, silence feels engineered. 13. Final location, Fort Deposit-style military storage. Closing feeling. Fort Knox. Not all restricted places are hidden in mountains or deep forests. Some exist in plain sight, heavily protected, and still largely unknown in detail. Facilities like Fort Knox represent something simple but powerful. Extreme security built around extreme value. Access is limited. Information is controlled. Entry is restricted. And over time, the lack of visibility creates its own mystery. Because when something is protected this heavily for this long, people naturally begin to wonder what level of importance requires it. And that question never fully disappears. It only becomes more interesting the less it is answered. Across all these places, one pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Some are restricted because of danger. Some because of secrecy. Some because of history that cannot be reversed. But all of them share one thing in common. You are not meant to freely enter them. And that leaves one final question. If you were given permission to enter just one of these forbidden places, which one would you choose, and why?